Well, everybody, welcome back. Welcome to Purpose and Productivity. I am glad you're here this evening, and we're going to continue our series on digital decluttering. This is spring cleaning in the fall. If you've been with us and following along the last couple of weeks, we've tackled the chaos we have with files and folders in our devices, on our computers, on our tablets, on our phones. That was in episode one. And then in episode two, we talked about decluttering our notes. We have them in different applications, and we have them on paper, and we have them pictures of them, and we have them in different tools. We have them in text files, we have them in Evernote, we have them in Notion. Today, we're going to move this along a little bit and get to the next layer of the conversation. And that layer is really moving to getting the digital clarity using a couple of apps. I call them your helpers that allow us to build workflows where our organization intention meets execution. So I'm excited to be here with you all today. We're going to have some fun. We're going to have some fun. And I'm doing it a little different today. I'm not going to try to do a screen share, and I won't say try. I'm not going to do a screen share and walk you through these applications. I want to introduce you to the apps, and this is really specific on the Mac, although I will explain the one app that you can use on a Mac or a Windows computer. The others are Mac only. But you can use these apps to build your workflows. And let's talk about building them to reduce the friction related to doing the decluttering process, because decluttering, there's a quite a bit of repetitive tasks that you will execute. Remember, we're talking moving files and notes and tasks around so that it's not cluttered all over the place on our computer. Even when we take, for example, physical documents and we scan them in or take a picture of them and put them into our devices, that's not where they stay. Most often, when we even take that step, they're going into some form of an inbox. So now you've got them in your inbox, you've got to move them around again. These apps are ones that I use, apps that I personally use to remove the friction of consistently repeating the task in mouse clicks. Yes, mouse clicks are easy. Yes, but it's time consuming. And it gets boring, frankly, to sit there and do the same task over and over and over again. So, this is going to create some space for you to be able to get this repetitive work done, move your decluttering forward. In other words, get it completed, and open up time and space in your day for you to do more deep work. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm excited. I see some folks here in the building with me, and I'm going to jump over and say hello in a little bit with other folks as you come in. But let me know if you have questions. I'm going to just say, go ahead and put a Q code in front of your questions, put your questions in, and I'll come back and answer them a little bit later in tonight's broadcast. If you're new here, I'm Florence. I am the host of Purpose and Productivity. On this channel, I help you go from chaos to calm in your workflow so that you accomplish what's important to you. You achieve your purpose. And I work with professionals, those of us who are out here, whether we have corporate jobs, public sector jobs, private businesses, we're solopreneurs, we're running small teams, we're nonprofit leaders. Professional fits a lot of categories, but I specifically focus on working with solopreneurs, small business owners, and nonprofit executives. And nonprofit could be ministry as well. So I'm fitting that in there. Those are the people it's me. It's my world, and I understand you because I do the same work that you do, and I work in the same environments that you do. So that's where I land. So if you're here, welcome to the channel and welcome to the show. Now, Let me just say that I'm going to talk about three apps or three tools today. And these are not just tools, they're really foundational and core to getting to a calmer use of your devices, specifically your computer. Some of them you can use, two of them you can use on your phone and your tablet as well. So I'll talk about that a little bit. Let me start first by saying we're talking about workflows, right? And why is this important? Why is talking about a workflow important? And what is a workflow? We hear this word, not everyone thinks about what it really means. But a workflow is a repeatable set of actions that you can take to move information from input to outcome with minimal friction. So, in my world, in program management, we often talk about ITTOs: input, tools, technology, and output. Workflows is really that. What do you have coming in? In this case, you've got your files, your notes, your task, your paper, other things. That's your input. Your tools and your technology is going to be what we talk about, these apps and your devices and the method to use them, right? The output is an organized, calm, friction free system that you're not looking for information because you know where it is, you can get to it quickly, and it's not scattered everywhere. That is where we're going to focus on in terms of workflow. If that's making sense to you, go ahead and put a one in the chat. Why, again, is this important? One, it helps you avoid decision fatigue. Have you ever knew you needed a file? You couldn't remember the name of the file. You couldn't remember where you put the file on your computer. You couldn't even remember if you put the file on your computer. So you spent 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes doing searches trying to find this file or a note. And when I say a note, I mean a piece of information. Maybe it's a reference number. Maybe it's a confirmation number. Maybe it's a phone number. Maybe it's a short list of reminders that you wanted. So that's what I mean by a note. I don't mean full on documents that you're publishing, but just small pieces of information that we want to keep track of. Maybe it's a list of gifts that you want to think about or consider for a friend or a family member or someone. So, but you don't remember where you put it. Maybe it could be maybe it's a phrase that you caught when you were sitting through a training and you like the phrase and you want to get back to it and reuse it. Workflows help us in terms of the decision, like where is it? Where am I going to put it? What does it look like? How is it named? And it help eliminate repetitive tasks. And that's where the apps are going to come in. And it allows us to stay in a flow longer. Okay. So those are some of the benefits of using workflows. If you find yourself rewriting the same information over and over again, perfect time for a workflow. If you find yourself copying and pasting files over and over again, time for a workflow. If you find yourself having a bunch of notes someplace and you've got to move them, great time for workflow. So, those are some of the things that I want you to think about to get out of this manual loop. I call it a manual loop, manually, constantly having to move information around. Okay. These workflows or repeatable action steps get us from chaos to calm. All right. And I hope that today, my aim is today to get you to a place where you can start to see how well this will work for you. So I'll go quickly today or relatively quickly today, but you have another opportunity. If you want to know more and you want to dig deep, come join me in the Purpose and Productivity community. It's a school community. Um, this is where we're working with professionals who are really transforming their environment. So if this chaos to calm resonates with you, I invite you to come. A moderator will drop a link to this community in the chat, and you can click on the first link in the chat and it'll get you right to the community, and you can fill out the questionnaire, and then we'll go from there. All right. Let's say let's talk about these 3 apps, and I'm gonna do one at a time and explain how what I do and how I use them in this decluttering process one by one. And then I will bring together an example of how I put them all together to create one workable flow, moving information around in my system. But before I do all of that, I want to say hello to a couple of folks who are out here. So glad to have you in the building. So we have Yolanda B. Hello, Ravens Talk with Yolanda. So glad to have you in the building with us. And we have the emotional CEO reminding me, yes, happy Friday, Live Tribe. It's either happy Friday or happy Friday Live Tribe. Both of them fit. Thank you for the reminder. We also have another moderator. That was one moderator, another moderator, Frank Jackson, in the building with us. So glad to have you here in the building. And the songbird himself, Mr. David Hunt, saying hello, hello. So glad to see you, David. I know we are over in school together, so you can drop some wisdom in there and tell them what we're doing over there, if you like, because you know how it's going in there. And also, Yolanda is in the community as well. So you guys share what we're doing over there, how things are going. Let us move into talking about these 3 apps. And there's actually one other one that I'm not gonna cover today, and but these 3 form the foundation for me. So the first, I muted myself. You may have heard me talk about it before, but it's an app called Drafts. D and it's the company that puts it out, it's, Tortoise. Yeah, Agile Tortoise, I'm gonna say it correctly. Agile Tortoise puts this out. It's available on your phone, on your tablet, on your computer. You can get the free version and start with that. The things that I like about Draft is it's simple. When you open it up, the interface, there are no buttons, no menus, well, very few menu choices. It's just plain text. So I can capture or record information quickly. In terms of moving workflows around, I can also use the automations in it, they call them actions, to create files that when I record, let's say the example that I'll use is I make a list, and I did this, made a list of in the community. I wanted, we have a level situation, and I wanted to have the list of names at each level as each person gets there. And I wanted to not have to think about what it was called and where I was using it and that. So what I did was I just wrote the list in drafts. What's this got to do with decluttering? I could have written it in a document and then I got to find the document. I could have written it in a Google Doc. I could have written it but I just wanted to get it down and then I could move it someplace. So what I did was then I created a little action because I can reuse it, and I pushed it out to a text file. The reason I pushed it out to a text file is because I'm going to use another tool to do something with it. But I captured the information in drafts, and I literally just opened up my phone and spoke into drafts, made the list, and that was it. I knew where it was. I didn't have to look for it. It was real simple for me to do. And I was looking at the app. So I didn't leave it there. I just captured it there. Drafts is for me, it's where all of this stuff starts. I know y'all see me sweating. Give me 1 second. I'm about to do something. Okay. Um, so that's the first thing. This drafts application is great. I also use it to have another app pick up and use the names for document names as well. So that's the first one, drafts. I would say go to your app store. This drafts is the app that is Mac specific. So it only works on an iPhone, iPad, watch, and a Mac computer, whether it's an iMac or Mac Mini or a Mac laptop on a Mac computer. So that's one of the things about this. It's not going to work on a Windows or a Linux computer or a Chromebook. Okay? But if you use it, you start with that. It's a great place as you're thinking through how am I going to organize my system? What folders do I want? What notebooks do I want? What databases do I want? It's a great place to capture that kind of information so you're not having to put it in a lot of different places and you can move it later. That's why I start. It's where I start when I'm going to capture digitally. So I encourage you to use that for that purpose. Okay. Then the second one, and this is one of the places where drafts and text expander go really well. So the second app is text expander. And y'all, I'm having a moment here. Um, text expander is an app that you can use in both Windows and Mac environment, and you can use it on your phone. So you can use it in many different places. You can use the Text Expander app even in web browser only. And on some devices, I actually use only the web browser version of Text Expander, but it allows me to uh, reduce my workload. How does this help? Well, I've got certain way I name files. And when I'm gonna name a bunch of files, let's just use something that I did recently. I had a bunch of PDFs that I needed to name and I needed to date them. I don't retype the dates over and over again. I have a snippet, that's what it's called, just a little 3 letters, usually mine is 3 to 4 letters, that represent what text expander is going to type out for me. So it's like, for example, if I'm going to use date, month, dash, year, dash, month, dash, day, dash, and time. And then I'm going to say, the first word before I get to the rest of it is going to be bank, just to pick something. I don't retype that. If I have 50 files that I need to name that way, I don't type that out, go one file by one file by one file. I create a text expander snippet and then I will have text expander fill that in on each of the files that I am renaming. Here's where text expander and drafts work together. I figured out the naming structure in drafts so that when I build it in text expander, I've done all of my thinking. I've done all of my planning. I've figured out I like that, I don't like this. And then I drop it in a text expander. I'm being very high level here on purpose because I don't want to be here all night. So if you have a bunch of files or a bunch of notes or ideas and you want to make sure you're capturing certain type of information, let's say I'm going to talk with David for a second. David, you're doing some what is it called when you're making songs? I can't think of the word right now. When you're just coming up with songs and the tunes are coming, but now you want to date and time stamp when you came up with those songs. The melodies came to you, the words came to you. You want to date and time stamp them. You want to start naming them, however you're going to name them. Now you can have work out what that naming structure is going to be in drafts, then put that naming structure, each of them into a text expander snippet, and you don't have to do that work again. You can just run through it and let it go. The next one is going to make it even simpler for you. Okay. So that's how I use this one. So drafts, capture, planning, thinking through, organizing what I'm doing, and um, just really working through how this is going to work for me. Something that's happening with my computer, y'all. Let me know if you can still hear me, cuz I don't know what's happening. Hey Denise, glad to see you in the building. Glad to have you in the building. Um and then the third app that I pair with these other two is Keyboard Maestro. This one can be kind of scary. Um but this is where all of the others feed into. So let's say I have a text expander snippet to name. David is going to name a bunch of songs that he's got to get renamed. He can create a keyboard maestro automation that says every file in this folder, apply this text expander snippet to it and just repeat it till you complete all of the files in the folder. That's one way. I did this. I had a bunch of PNG files that I wanted to rename, and then I wanted to move them to another folder. So what I did was figured out the name in drafts. So this is the integration piece. I figured out the name in drafts. I then took that, copied the naming layout or structure or format or syntax, all of those words work, and put them in text expander. Then seems like I'm doing a lot of work, but I'm doing it once and I don't have to redo it again. And then I created a simple little keyboard maestro script that said take all these files in this folder, and every time you see one of these files that ends in PNG in this folder, take this action on it. Name it this way and move it to this other location. Now that I built it, my PNG files are not stacked up on my desktop. If you do shares, you know that's typically where they end up. I have a script that runs on the desktop. It moves it to a folder. That folder is being watched by Keyboard Maestro. It then takes and runs the script from Text Expander, names the file according to the structure that I want, and then put it where it's going to live, which is in offline storage. I don't have to do anything else to manage that. I'm not manually clicking the files. I'm not having to remember to clean them off of my desktop. I'm not having to think about where they are going to land or when they're going to get there. The system, the apps are doing the hard work for me. Yes, I spent a little bit of time. When I say a little bit of time, all that I described to you to set up the structure for me to move those files took me all of about like 10 minutes. This was not hours. This was like 10 minutes because I knew what I wanted to do with them. Could it take longer? Yes, it could absolutely take longer if you have something more complex. Start simply. If you've got a bunch of PDFs sitting in your downloads folder, figure out what you want to do with those PDFs, figure out your naming convention for them, put those names, the naming convention in a text expander snippet, then have Keyboard Maestro run through all those PDFs and rename them for you, not only for there, but for future. So this one time, but in the future, it'll continue to process those files for you. You can do the same if you have a note-taking app, whether it's Apple Notes or Notion or Obsidian, name the one you like. You can run these tools against them and get your files renamed. I I did something a week ago, last Saturday, and this is slightly off topic, but it's the same kind of thinking. I wanted to change the description in all of the videos that I put on YouTube. And I was like, I am not going to sit here and manually change all of these descriptions. I am not going to do that. So what I did, this is decluttering because I had junk in there that needed to come out. Thinking about decluttering everywhere. What I did was wrote out what I wanted the descriptions to be changed to. And in this case, I actually used a different app. But what I did was I put the description in Text Expander. So going forward, I, I hit a couple of keys. Excuse me. I hit a couple of keys, and goes in. The description goes into the YouTube video the way I want it. So I don't have to redo that. Text Expander. I have no idea what's happening right now, y'all. Forgive me. Um, but then I use my TubeBuddy subscription, and I ran that against all the videos descriptions and changed, oh my goodness, changed out all of the descriptions. So take this whole idea of decluttering and think through. And when I say thank you, Frank, think through all of the places you have to declutter, whether it's in your notes, whether it's in your files, whether it's in video, whether it's in YouTube descriptions, it's in your blog, all of the places where you've got clutter and you want to clean it up. Is it going to all happen in one go? No, break it up into small pieces. Do a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, but use these kind of tools to help you not have to do so much manual work to reorganize and build the workflows to make it work for you. This is an example what I described with making the workflow for renaming PNG files, renaming PDF files. I have another thing where I write a meeting agenda, some meeting agendas. My workflow is I have a script that once the meeting is over, it makes a copy, it renames it for the next meeting, and it puts it where I can go to it, and then I just let it run. I don't have to manually recreate that all the time. I've already set up the workflow to make it happen. And then it del- it the my workflow, my process, my automation using these tools that I've just talked about today. Again, drafts, text expander, and keyboard maestro together reduce the amount of hours and time and me manually using the mouse and the keyboard to rename, to copy, to paste, to do searches, to date stamp. I have these tools do all of that work for me and I don't have to do it. So that's I wanted to introduce you. Get these you treat these as your assistants. AI is great. AI definitely helps, but these are more fundamental than using a prompt in a LLM to do the work for you because this is working on your own material. It's not helping you write a big program. It's just doing something very simple but powerful to reduce the amount of time you're investing to execute that which your computer can execute on your behalf. That's why I call them helpers. So we've got a couple of other people who've joined us. I'm going to say hello to you. Hello, Micah Flemings. And I know I saw Miss Denise Hot slide in here. Hey, Denise, how are you doing? Glad to see you in the building. And I see Inanea, one of our other moderators, slide in here. And I'm going to give you this opportunity to ask a question If you have one about this process, I will be glad to answer your question. But if not, it's okay. I wanted to get through this and give you just the ideas that you can follow to execute and start to get out of manually managing all of the clutter on your devices. Again, drafts works on your phone, your watch, your iPad, your Mac computer, whichever kind of Mac computer you have. Lightweight, simple. Text expander works on Mac and it works on Windows. It works in the browser. So you can combine it there if you happen to use a Windows computer as well as a Mac computer. Keyboard Maestro is Mac only, but these three apps, or I call them my helpers, they work together to make systematic workflows to reduce the amount of time I am going through manually executing tasks on the device. And that helps me keep the clutter down on my device as well, whether it's on my computer, on my tablet, on my phone. So, wanted to share that with you all. And I'm going to end by saying, come join us in Purpose and Productivity in our school community. Again, you can click on the first link in the description. Come on over, join, because we're going to be digging into this very topic with these tools in October with some folks like a gentleman by the name of Doc Rock, another gentleman by the name of James Hicks. We're going to do some more workshopping style with folks in the community to really show you hands on and have you work through some projects on your own so that we can answer questions while you're working through the project to help you get going. I am excited for what this community is going to do and bring to you to help you again go from chaos to calm in your workflow so you can achieve the thing that is important to you and do it friction free. With that, I'm going to say good night. Have a great weekend, everybody.